Welcome back, viewers, to Point of View. We're looking at the international arena and the things that are trending right now in the world. We are talking about the conflict in Syria, or as I assert or say, the war in Syria, because I think we have surpassed the stage where we call it an armed conflict. As you were saying, Mr. Ngachira, it fits the threshold of the requisites of war. Yes, yes, please.
We need to realize that for it to be a war, we need to realize that there has to be two opposing forces, and they both have to be armed, and the conflict has to be ongoing. Within that is like a basicness of whether this is indeed armed conflict in necessity. But now the conventions on humanitarian law make it seem that instead of making people have to define war, the rules will apply in internal armed conflict and external armed conflict. So humanitarian law should apply regardless of whether they want to recognize this
as whatever they call it, a conflict, a war, or whatever. That's very true. The Geneva Conventions are very clear in all of this.
But you know, I think something else that the international community appreciates is the fact that right now we have the government and the opposition. If Assad doesn't indeed leave, there's a gap. Who is going to fill that gap? Which of these rebels and which of the ideologies are going to start governing Syria?
That's very true, because you have ISIS and you have the rebel group.
Yes, yes. So there's still a risk, because with the different ideologies, if ISIS in fact does take over, imagine the state that is going to be. So there was an accusation actually
with the jackpot.
Imagine,
our caliphate for us.
Yes. So it would just be from jumping from one devil to another.
That's very true.
Now there was one accusation that was leveled against the president Al-Assad, and I have to say it was pretty genius. That they asked him, was him? Of course he denied. They asked him whether it was true that he was he was trying to destroy the middle people. There's the government, then there's ISIS, the extreme people. So he was killing the moderates. So that you tell the civilians, you have a choice. It's either me
or ISIS.
Me, who you say I am undemocratic, I am stifling free speech and whatnot. And then there's ISIS, which is beheading people. So choose what's the worst evil.
You vote on your head.
Yes, yes. And it's very genius after all, because if I'm a civilian and think better this devil that I know and I have dealt with than this one, which is the bigger one.
That's very true. That's very true. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue highlighting the Syrian issue here at Point of View. But now we want to move on to our second point of discussion, which is a bit closer to home. South Sudan. They got their independence very happily after years of civil war in Sudan, and we were happy to help them get it as Kenyans, all the support they need. But now we're in a situation where the newly independent state is in crisis, and it's a power struggle between Kir and Machar. So what's your opinion on this?
A small backdrop. When after South Sudan gained independence and things were looking very hopeful for Africa's youngest nation, and tribalism reared its ugly head, and I think that is such, as a black race we will complain about racism, but even amongst ourselves we have tribalism, and when it's just one tribe we have clanism in Somalia, But now what happened was that Machar is from the Nuer tribe, and Salva Kiir is from the Dinka tribe. These are the biggest tribes in South Sudan. And after independence, after they got independence, a lot of the Dinka became they're very learned. They're the most people you'll see in Kenya. They went out there and they started reading, and they are, let's say, the average South Sudanese citizen on the streets. But now when it comes to, the Dinka, the Nuer were not very learned per se. So they joined the army, they joined, they're serving the nation in their own capacities. And so you have to appreciate that there's a lot of guns by the time the war was over, So it came to a point where after Garang died, Machar felt he would have been the better the better person. Because now South Sudan is a pretty rich country.
It is.
It's a pretty rich country. And Machar wanted a lot of, what do I say? He wanted to be very, okay, allegedly. He wanted a lot of power. And let's say he also preferred that there was a bit more equality in the way things were being done. And when a lot of corruption, my people eat this, your people eat this, it reached a point where now Machar, you need to understand, Kir is not a gentleman per se. Garang was a gentleman, and Kir was the one who would be, Kir was like his right-hand man. He was the person who would come and clear the area.
Yeah.
And so Kir is not a statesman per se.
That's very true.
Yeah,
he wants what it is.
Yeah, he responds in force. So when you have to understand, when Machar tried to perform a coup on Kir, it was very, let's say per se, easy for him because a majority of the people in the army are unwell.
Yeah.
And so he convinced them.
Had his
So he convinced
support.
them. Yeah, and so when he first attacked Juba, when he first attacked the stronghold of Kir, it becomes very hard when he realizes that a big backdrop of the army is actually on. But they at least that time they pushed them back. They pushed them back into the bush. But now they only got stronger in numbers. But the thing is, the rest of the country was siding with Kir, and there's just a Dinka. But all the Nuers were on Machar's side. Per se.
Okay. So ultimately, it boiled down to tribalism.
It did.
C'est la vie.
Yeah.
For Africans.
Yeah. But now you have to see there is the factor of now Uganda playing into the.
Yes, let's talk about the neighbors: Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, and Eritrea and Ethiopia. What is our stake in all of this? We are very keen to have the mend the fences and come together. What is our stakehold in all of this?
First, I was just thinking, before we get to our stake, dictatorship, this being drunk with power is something that African leaders have to, push it down. Because when you start getting drunk with power, you forget the goal and the people who you're supposed to serve. And tribalism, another root in all the wrongs in Africa. We have dictatorship, which goes hand in hand with being drunk with power, and then you have tribalism, which you forget you're supposed to be looking at the bigger goal. You're just looking at your tribe, and everything that happens is geared towards destroying your tribe. These are the two things that will destroy Africa, and will always make us, the third world. We'll never reach there because we are so segregated. We are so divided on ethnic and tribalistic lines.
That's very true.
And with us being such close neighbors, and if I don't know, we want them to mend, yes, but this intervention, if we don't, it's going to somehow, make its way somehow. I'm worried maybe one day you pass the borders and somehow reach our country.
It's actually infectious if you look at it. That's why you're able to compare and see similarities between what's happening in one African state and what's happening in another. And going back to the point, what are the stakes for us as Kenya? We are very interested in having them together, and the peace initiative was largely spearheaded by Kenya and Uganda. And President Salva Kiir refutes the proposal that Riek Machar should be a prime minister. And he also at the same time does not want him as the first vice president. In a sense, he doesn't want any power going to him, and we're at a deadlock.
We need to realize that on the negotiation table, Ethiopia is pro-Machar, Uganda is pro-Kiir, and they have their reasons, because during their history with their fights, Ethiopia fought with Eritrea. The Nuer helped Ethiopia fight Eritrea. We have the tribalism is so ugly that where Kenya is affected, that one tribe told the other, we are going to make you look like the Turkana. At the very end, that's we need to realize we are building a standard gauge railway. We want it connected to South Sudan. The stakes are so high for us. But then again, I think you need to realize, does the prime minister vice president thing always work? Think about it. For Kenya, it worked on compromise, and the government was not the most effective
we've ever had.
The Nusumkate government per se. And then we also go to Zimbabwe. It was not very effective. The thing is, as much as we'd like peace, maybe the prime minister thing is not always the best, because what we are teaching other African rebel leaders out there is that you just keep pushing on, just keep pushing on. When the people come in, you're going to get power. At what cost? You know, the thing is, I think I normally say, like, we should put, like, all the people waging war, we should put them in a boxing ring and let them, because there is no way that Kir is in the state house there. Machar is in a hotel in Ethiopia, telling people, you go do. But like, the people are now realizing that what's happening. The people themselves are stopping war by themselves. I think when we reach a place where, as citizens of Africa, we realize that they don't care about us. When
It's all a past.
it's all a past.
Leaders never care.
We will fight wars. Our blood will be for nothing. Once we realize that, everything just stops. Like, we just tell them, style up, or we stop to a channel.
But that's a question I always ask. Then why do we always join one side? Because as a civilian, you either see this side has wronged me too much, let me join this one or this one. What? Because I don't think what inspires citizens is usually a sense of loyalty. I'm joining it because of my government. Usually it's for some self-interest. This one killed, this group killed my mother, this group has waged so much war against my tribe, you know?
That's very true.
So when you have such it's not such a strong conviction to join something. I don't think you can be so loyal to it. You'll find so many defections right and left.
That's very true. That's very true. And that's all the time we have, unfortunately, today for the panel. But keep the conversation going on our Facebook and Twitter pages, on your screen. And ladies and gentlemen, my panel today has been comprised of Ms. Marystella Simiyu, lawyer and training advocate at the Kenya School of Law, Mr. Anthony Ngachira, lawyer at the NCCK. Keep the conversation coming. Remember, this is the panel on Point of View. We have the facts, they're real. And I've been your host, Linda Kruger. This is TVC. Keep it Point of View.